Well, since the election, Mr Keating hasn't been all that accessible to the media. So on 2UE this week, Alan tried the next best thing, the brilliant impersonator, Greg Hayes. And while it might sound very much like Paul Keating, remember, it's not quite.
Well, there are many issues confronting the Prime Minister at the moment. Pay TV and his apparent refusal to confront the budget deficit, to name but two. Then this morning, there's his back down on election promises in relation to dental benefits for pensioners and matching public contributions to charities. For the next 3 days at least, New Zealand will be the focus. And high on the agenda will be welfare, specifically dole payments to New Zealanders living here, which are costing Australians $500 million a year. Way back in 1872, the author Anthony Trollope, writing on a visit he'd made to New Zealand, said, "The colony is over-governed, over-legislated for, over-provided with officials and overburdened with debt." Perhaps that quote in 1993 is equally applicable to Australia. And instead of focusing so ardently on the welfare issue, why don't we think of what we might learn from New Zealand? After all, their economy is faring better than ours. Unemployment is 1% lower. And on Pay TV, New Zealand managed to introduce it quietly in what the Financial Review's editorial today describes as the open manner now characteristic of that marketplace. 3 years ago they did that without any of the machinations that have gone on in Australia. The Financial Review editorial this morning also raises some possible topics for discussion between Mr Bolger, the New Zealand Prime Minister, and Mr Keating. Parallel legislation to bust the Union's trans-Tasman shipping racket, a single Australasian airline market, and a joint stock market. It also suggests that perhaps Mr Bolger, quote, might offer advice on the implications of establishing treaties with Indigenous people. Well, I thought we'd catch up with the Prime Minister before he heads off for New Zealand today, and the Prime Minister is on the line. Mr Keating, good morning.
Good morning, Alan.
Prime Minister, before we get to your New Zealand trip, why have you backed down on your promise that the government would match public contributions to charitable organisations?
Alan, can I say that this whole business, it's been the publicity surrounding the statement referring to New Zealanders coming over to our country, and the welfare benefits and all this has been blown right out of proportion. I was looking forward to going to New Zealand. I still am, and I think that I think I might take Trevor Chappell with me. The way the reaction we've got from New Zealand, and I just think the whole thing's been blown out of proportion.
Trevor Chappell, when you're dealing with things like Pay TV and welfare payments, where does he fit into it?
Well, the underarm incident, they're still pretty frightened of him, I believe, Alan. So
I didn't think you were a cricket fan.
Well, I am really.
Someone's written that for you.
So, yes. Oh, we've got some pretty good people, and I just think that'd be a real good idea because we've had some phone calls via New Zealand last night, and things are looking pretty hot, Alan.
What about, just going to, before we get to that Pay TV, do you accept any of the responsibility for the current fiasco?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think Senator Collins has been misunderstood in this, and absolutely misunderstood.
But they've managed to introduce Pay TV over there without any of the hoo-ha that's gone on here.
Oh, come on.
No, hang on, bear with me. No, do you think you can learn anything from New Zealand on this?
Look, come on, Alan.
No, I mean, can't. Well, have you passed the point of learning?
My government, now, come on. My government has introduced education reform.
Now, look, now, hang on, let's forget all this. We're talking about Pay TV. I mean, are you saying that there's nothing you can learn from New Zealand on Pay TV?
I think we can learn some good songs from New Zealand. I mean,
you're very flippant. You're very flippant about all of this.
Alan, they're fantastic singers, aren't they? I mean, look, come on, they are.
Now, you just seem... See, it's the same old Keating. I mean, before the election, you wouldn't answer questions. Now you've got this mandate, you still won't answer.
Alan, education reform, law reform, housing reform, all these things that we've introduced, and for John Hewson, chloroform.
I mean, chloroform.
Well, I mean, I just think the whole thing, the Australian people know, Alan. They're the ones.
What about, yes,
endorsed our operation.
Yeah, I mean, you only talk to the Australian people when it suits you.
Well, it suits me all the time. I speak to them all the time, Alan.
Well,
your show and every other media outlet, I talk to them all the time. They know that.
Yeah, well, I don't think they do. But let's just go back to New Zealand. Ruth Richardson, the Finance Minister, her motto is better a warrior than a wimp. Do you think you'll be meeting with her?
What's her name again, Alan?
Ruth Richardson?
Ruth Richardson. Well, I'm not sure I'll be meeting with her or not, but I'm certainly meeting up with Ray Bolger.
No, it's Jim Bolger.
I thought it was Ray Bolger.
No.
He's a singer too, isn't he, Alan?
Yes, Jim Bolger is the Prime Minister.
Oh, right.
I mean, you see, this is the point that Australians are upset about. I mean, on the issues that matter to us, you're simply not well enough informed.
Well, one of my people here has written down Ray Bolger. I thought he was a singer. I was looking for...
Yeah, he is a singer, but Jim Bolger is the Prime Minister. I mean, what kind of discredit are you going to reflect upon Australia if you don't even know the Prime Minister's name?
Well, I know his name now. It's
you do?
Mr. Bob. Jim,
well, if you came on this program more often, you'd know a lot more.
Was it Jim? Jim Bolger.
Yeah, Jim.
Let's write that down, Alan.
Jim, J-I...
Jim. Who wrote Ray? Jim Bolger. Right. Well,
yeah.
that's very good. Well, now, we can go over there absolutely 100% informed, Alan, now.
Well, up to a point. And what about some tips on the wool crisis?
The wool crisis?
There's a wool crisis here, isn't there?
Here? I believe so, Alan.
Mr. Crean, when did you last see Mr. Crean?
Mr. Crean? Simon?
Yeah.
Simon, all the other week. Good bloke.
And
good bloke, Alan. Good bloke.
Yeah, well, he's a union fella, but he didn't talk to you about the wool crisis?
Not at that point, but we're aware of it. We're aware of it. There is a wool crisis. I mean, we're aware of it. Alan, we're the government. We know.
Yeah,
we know what's happening.
That's the concern is that you don't. I mean, what sort of entourage are going to be accompanying you?
Oh, we've got 173 people all up, Alan. We're going to the Hawke Bay, Bay of Plenty. It'll be good.
And on the VIP plane, we're paying for that, of course.
Did they send you the bill?
No, they haven't sent me the bill. Taxpayers. I'm just one of the taxpayers.
Dateline Canberra. Harvey Peters reporting. Today in Parliament, the veritable seat of power, the Minister for Sanitation and the Minister assisting the Minister for Conveniences.
Certain knowledge that Australian manufacturers can supply goods and services equal to anything in the world.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Greg Hayes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brendan. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Has anyone ever been to Long Reach? What for? We did a sportsman's breakfast, Dougie and I, and after that we decided, well, Dougie put a couple of bets on, and I thought, I might have bet on the cup. I'm not as big a punter as Dougie is. We all know Dougie doesn't mind a beer and a bet. And we went down to the pub in Long Reach, and guess what the name of it was? The Commercial. Now, every town's got to have a commercial, the railway, what's the other one? The Royal. We're standing in the Royal Hotel, the Commercial Hotel, the Royal's down the road. We're standing, and all of a sudden, this bloke comes in and he says, "Oh, mate," he says, "there you go, mate," he said, "give us a beer before the fight starts." Whack down the hatch. He said, "give us another one, champ, before the fight starts." Bang down the hatch. He said, "give us another beer, quick, champion, before the fight starts." Whack down the hatch. He said, "give us another one, quick." The public and said, hey, bloody this up, will you? When's this fight going to start? He said, "It'll start in a minute, mate, I haven't got any money." I came to Sydney many years ago from a little place in WA, you've probably never heard of it, called Newdigate. Well, we went back there last November to my niece's wedding, and I tell you what, there's a sign outside town that says, population 147. And I said to my cousin, I said, "Listen, that sign outside the town, population 147, you better change it. That's what it said 36 years ago." He said, "Oh no, that's how many people live here." I said, "Yeah, there's been a few kids born since I left." He said, "I know." He said, "But every time a kid's born, some young bloke leaves town." It's 147. I think the first program I ever saw on TV, and I started to do the voices, I discovered that I could do these funny voices, were the Rag and Bone Men from Shepherd's Bush. Remember Harold and Albert Steptoe and Son? Harold, you know what I've done, son? You know what I've gone and done? Oh my God, don't you embarrass me here, don't you? Fuck all these people. You know what's happened, Al? I've just been to the bathroom and put toothpaste on me, piles and pile cream on me teeth. You dirty old man. You're a disgrace, so cool. You know what happened then, Harold? I ended up with a ring of confidence and a retractant smile. Thank you very much. He's about this big. Well, if he gets any closer, Stumpy, put a bullet in him. Yeah, Bernard, Dookie, gets any closer, blast him. How far away is he now, Stumpy? He's getting real big. He's about this big. Oh, for God's sake, put a bullet in him. Duke, I can't shoot him. I've known that agent, he was this big. Thank you. All the Brennan.